I don't even know if he is. Is that like he is, and he's on he's on the fuck shit, but like
He's rich and surrounded by weird, rich, out of touch liberals all the time, and he thinks that that's what it is.
yeah.
So
He
like
mostly
the
did.
only
He only donated to Hillary is the thing though. Like he didn't donate to Trump at all, and he didn't donate at all in 2020. Obviously,
can I
I don't know
attempt
what he's
can
doing.
I attempt to do an intro?
Yeah, sure.
All right, everybody. This is Boatknife. This is our attempt at a podcast. Uh, I'll just take a second to introduce. Sitting across from me is my best friend. This is Patrick. He, him pronouns.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a very interesting person. I've known him for about 5 years. We met on 4chan because we both posted in the Bandcamp threads. Those were the days.
Unfortunately, we both made posts on 4chan.
Yes, he hasn't really done that much yet, but he, I assure you, he's a very interesting, worthwhile voice, and I can't wait to talk in this
Damn,
podcast.
bitch. I fucking felt that shit hit me in my soul. That shit
I'm
cut right to the core.
I'm so sorry. You haven't
No,
done.
it's good. It's good. It's funny.
It's your turn.
Okay. Hi. No wait. I'm introducing you. Hi. I'm Patrick. I'm introducing Avery, my friend Avery. You might know her better as Patricia. She likes to make songs, and make YouTube videos, and talk about going online, and going online. Like so by the time that we both like started talking and messaging each other, we were both like starting to like leave the website because it was bad, and it's a bad website and you shouldn't go on it. We were posting in the Bandcamp threads, which is just kind of like a self-promotion and outreach thing where like you post your Bandcamp link and other people will like reply to it and say that's good or that it's bad, and you're supposed to offer feedback, but not many people really did that. We met in there. I have released a couple of her records physically. I've done the like the big air quotes physical releases, official physical releases for all of her shit. If you own the Little Spoon or Punk CDs, I ship those out. I touched them. You touched what my hands touched. I have touched the thing that you own. It's yeah. Don't go on. All right, rule
Technically,
one.
technically, I met Jacob Hutto through the Bandcamp threads, and then he introduced me to
Yeah.
you,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I stopped talking to him, and I feel bad about that. Jacob, if you're out there, we could still talk.
I have not stopped talking to Jacob Hutto. I went to see Duster with him a little over a year ago, and he insisted on the show. Okay, that show was kind of weird. That was a weird fucking bill for that show that I went to go see with him. I met up with him in New York City. It was Sashimi, which is, and Snail Mail, which are two kind of like indie rock groups that I hadn't heard of before. But sandwiched in the middle of them, Duster were doing their comeback tour. So it was like two fairly normal like indie rock sets that had like with a lot of fucking ballads and crowd interaction, and then Duster came on and played for 40 minutes and then walked off stage, which was really fucking really weird billing on that. Like not even in the beginning or the end. So like you, if you wanted to watch both of the sets that were like each other, you had to listen to Duster in the middle of it. Anyway, Jacob Hudo wanted to get photos with all of the members of the band. We were just kind of wandering around in the place below the concert area, like in the like merch venue place out front. And the Duster dudes were just kind of like wandering in and out of doors, very clearly high out of their fucking minds. Like debilitate. Like they very clearly were like not in a position to talk to people, and we were just going up to them and being like, "Hey, take a picture with us," and they were like, "Okay." They look happy. I don't think they were mad about it. I think they were rather happy about it, but they were a little bit confused.
My story that kind of resembles that was the time that uh, I went to see Philip Glass play his piano etudes um, live with my mom as like a gift for her because she loves Philip Glass. And well, first off, it wasn't just Philip Glass; it was Philip Glass and two other people who were much better players than him. So like he played some of the etudes, and then these two other people like also played some, and they were just so much better than Glass himself was at playing piano. But before the show, I walked up to Philip Glass and just like stood there for like 10 to 20 minutes, I think, and then like I asked him for an autograph for my
Shit.
mom.
Oh, that's
Um,
cute.
and he got me it. He wrote it, and it's on our fridge. Um,
Cool.
all right.
You've mostly been to like classical concerts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You don't like standing up because your leggies get hurt.
Yeah.
My, I think the only other artist that I really have a picture like standing next to is when I went to see Kira Kira Bonito, and one of the Kira Kira Bonito guys was like standing there, like smoking a cigarette. So me and the people I was going with wanted to get a picture with that. Um, I I don't want most of the artists that I listen to know that I exist. Fucking the last one of the last concerts I went to go see before COVID shut down was Mount Erie, and I don't you haven't been to a Mount Erie concert, so I don't think that you understand that when you go into the venue, like the big normal fucking venue that you go into, Phil Elverum is just like sitting at the merch table at most of his shows. He's just he is running his merch table and he's sitting there, and if you want to buy a CD, which I did from him, you just kind of have to go up to him and like talk to him and say, I'd like to buy one of your CDs, and he's like, sure. It's really fucking strange.
Did you get Aunt Erie?
I did not get Auntery. I got a CD by Julie Dorian, who was playing with him that night. For it was Lost Wisdom Part 2.
I like that the album just says Aunt Erie.
Aunt Erie. The reason it's like that is because the cover on that is like a big fold-out poster. For some reason, it's shoved into the jewel case like that, but it's this big whole poster that folds out from there that just has Mount Erie in the bottom corner. But because of how it's scanned and like Rate Your Music standardization stuff, it just is Aunt Erie.
Why does Rate Your Music do the thing where everything is the physical release and it has to be the physical release, even if it's a random like shitty scan that someone uploaded?
Because the CDs technically came out first in most instances. Like if it's a digital release, it'll generally that was then followed by a CD release later. It'll usually be the digital cover that is being uploaded first. But in most instances, it's a case of it being sent out to press junkets and shit like that first on CD.
I wanna check if it still has the tape cover for copy on Rate Your Music.
It does.
It does.
I know it for a
it
fact
fucking
that it
does.
It's. I think I like the tape. I like the cropping on the tape cover more. If you own a copy tape, which I know two of you do, I also touch those. The vinyl cover for Mount Erie has like this cool picture of like a woman holding like a skull on it, like a dead deer skull or some shit, and that's like cool. That's like cool kind of gangster stuff. That's like cool like dead stuff, like black metal stuff. It's cool, and that's kind of like a cool stuff cover instead of the other one, which is kind of like. It's kind of like cringe and gay on the other cover, in my opinion. So that's just kind of my thoughts about Mount Erie. Boatknife is an arts and culture podcast.
It is. It's an arts and culture podcast hosted by me and my best friend Patrick.
Hi.
We love each other a lot.
Yeah.
We're really, really good friends, and we wanted a good excuse to talk about things that we recommend to each other. I have been holding this in for weeks. When can I talk about Cam?
You can talk about Cam now. I think I'd be fine talking about Cam now. I suggested we have like a Google Doc where we recommend each other movies and shit. And one of the ones that was in there is a Blumhouse produced kind of like indie horror, semi indie horror flick called Cam. It's a digital age doppelganger story with a lot of really interesting moving parts. It's a delightful little movie, and I'm happy that she got a lot out of it too. So it's
It's
time for Avery to talk about Cam.
all right. Cam is a movie that is on Netflix right now, so you could go and watch it. It's like 90 minutes too. It's super breezy. It's a horror slash psychological thriller about a cam girl who owns her shit. I love her so much. She's the greatest.
But look out.
I was see I like jumping into things without reading the premise. So I got hooked so viscerally with just the opening scene. The opening scene where we see Alice, the cam girl, doing her thing, and she's just on this campsite, and someone tips for her to spank herself, and she's doing it like, oh, 1, 2, and then when she gets to 5, she's like, and then 1 for good luck, and and that, I swear, I in that moment I was her. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I need. That's the greatest little moment of characterization I've ever seen. Um, 1 for good luck is the is
And
considering the further themes of the movie. I think that line is all we need to understand that Alice finds intrinsic value in her work.
yeah.
Um, in that moment, I feel like she loves what she does, and there is an authentic core to it.
Cam is a movie that like it fundamentally really understands like separation between the character and the audience of the film and the character and the audience of the live stream. It's able to like she is able to like negotiate both of those simultaneously throughout the film whenever she's streaming in a way that's really intense.
The premise of Cam is that her show gets taken over by a doppelganger of herself. She gets locked out of her account, and there's just some weird person who looks exactly like her running it. And this is like the big scary thing is that this doppelganger is this figure of complete inauthenticity. It steps over boundaries that she never would have, and is thus getting way more popular than she ever had. There's a scene in the middle that is the most striking thing in the entire movie. Like, the setup is in the intro. The setup is in the intro, where it isn't just her doing what she does. It's her doing what she does, but also she pretends to commit suicide on stream as like a stunt. And that's also a bit of characterization, like, oh, she's in this game, but she's also crafty and puts her own spin on it.
Every
Um,
time I show this movie to people, they always kind of lose. They during like the 20 seconds between the fake out and the fake out being revealed. I can like visibly see the movie losing them in their eyes, and it's fucking great. It's like it's a double fake out in the sense of like, oh, the thing that you thought happened didn't actually happen, but also in the sense of it seems like something where the movie is showing too much of its hand and like exploiting and discarding one of its characters immediately when it is like in that process it is like it reveals that it's actually setting up further characterization.
Following from that, I mention this because there is a point in the middle of the film where really all of her efforts to tell people about her predicament or to fix it have been kind of like dashed. She's kind of lost all hope for the moment. She tried to call tech support, but they were ass. And now she's just like watching her doppelganger do like jazzercise. We see like the disconnect between the doppelganger being all like made up and well presented, and then we see like her completely just like almost shell shocked, and she tips the doppelganger to like hurt herself, and she this is her like lashing out.
She's like paying the doppelganger
Yes,
to be like, oh, fucking yeah, punch yourself and shit.
this escalates. Like, the audience joins in. They get her to like get out the flail, and then this escalates into the doppelganger getting a gun out and shooting herself in the head. But this is also a stunt, just like she did.
The doppelganger does, like, in effect, shoot itself, like, fucking for real, for real. That is, like, a real fucking gunshot. There's all these things that, like, pit the production value of the film against the production value of her stream specifically, because you know that within the context of this film, the filmmakers of Cam do have the budget to make those special effects, but she really doesn't. She's going to fucking Party City for all of her shit. She does not have the budget to be. She can barely afford, like, a neck prosthetic for these things. It's just such an intelligent way to, like, have this thing where both us and her are entirely on the same page, while the audience, who is not aware of the process of her live streams, of the process of her putting these things together and broadcasting them on the internet, there's this intense disconnect between the audience and her, while us and her are completely on the same page. It's fucking, like, so much at once. It's so much all at once.
And to me, when that scene rolled around, I realized that it's a metaphor for fucking online identity. Because I felt it so hard. The sensation of watching yourself and the perception of yourself become something that is not you, and lashing out at that thing and having that, like, self-hatred come out as a consumable thing that only serves to be a further, like, augmentation of your brand. And I realized that's me. She's me.
Yeah.
she
The most important individual aspect of the film is definitely that there are people who are watching the streams, not even necessarily the streams themselves. Like, it's the viewing audience that is completely off screen,
Yeah.
that is largely in control of the events of the film, if there is a single thing in control of the film.
And that's why, like, I see a lot of reviews of this film talking about how it's like this parable about, like, sex work and the plight of sex workers. And no, it's not. It doesn't really say that much about sex work. I think it is a parable about being an artist in the modern age, and cam girls were simply a particularly on point conduit for that idea. Because in that case, it's really the feedback loop of both, like, the art being your body, and it's sort of like the whole thing being designed to be addictive for both the artist and the audience. And that is why, okay, I'll tell you where I thought it was gonna go. This probably sucks, but I'll tell you, I thought there was gonna be a twist where it turns out the Alice that we've been following is actually, like, some, like, self-hatred residue left behind when she started, like, giving away herself to better her career and losing, like, the authentic core has been, like, expelled and is now like, that's the double, and now it's going to fade away. But that probably sucks, and it's not what they did. They have the doppelganger just be an unexplained apparition that simply takes control of accounts on this website and other cam girl websites. And that makes sense because it's not actually, like, a demon. It's the attitude that's created. It's the addiction and the loss of identity that is fostered by online art spaces. And she's only able to get it back through a intense public display of self-destruction. And
Yeah. It's hard to even say the thing is, like, an apparition, or I don't even want to attribute any specific label in terms of, like, it being a creature or a monster that can have, like, historical connotations to other monsters,
yes.
other movie monsters and shit.
I think the revelation that it's actually, like, stupid and cannot recognize her face,
yeah,
that's very important to the film.
So good. There's so many points where where it could be stupid diabolical bullshit where it chooses not to
Okay,
be.
I
Like
heard
the horror with the film is okay.
so
Go. I'm
many
sorry.
like fan theories. I'm sorry. I did digital self-harm and watched a shit ton of Cam ending explained videos.
No,
Um
sweetheart, no.
and they all
Why?
rely on this statement. I think it was the director who said that there was a scrapped ending where it was revealed that the doppelganger was a like deep fake based content farm,
Oh, that's cringe.
and it was like AI, and it's a statement on AI. And I I'm so glad that they didn't do that, and I hate that
Yeah.
everyone is acting as though it's in the film because
Let's
like
take this thing that was explicitly removed from the work and just put it right
yeah,
back in.
let's just
Let's
put
take
it
this thing
back.
that they reflected on, that they reflected on and said this shouldn't be in the film. Let's just take it and put it right back in.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to talk about your movie after you make it, or they're just gonna put it
and
right back
and
in.
this is the pretentious person in me coming out, but I hate like all the positive reviews of this movie do not seem to have seen the same movie that I did, and the movie they're describing just fucking sucks. It sucks ass.
If you're going into it looking for that reveal, it's going to be disappointing when you don't get it because it's not in the fucking movie. But I feel like there's so many points where like that is addressed to some extent, where it's like they have very ample opportunities to say X is the root of this thing. Like Tinker Boy is like a secret maniacal mastermind. They could have done that, or they could have even done this thing like right at the end where they could have like she could have encountered doppelganger and been able to talk to her, and she's just like, yeah, I'm fucking taking over your life. I'm the fucking Joker. I'm taking over your Twitter account. But they don't do that. It's like I really feel like the best way to view it is as like a virus to some extent. If I'm gonna say it's like anything, it's this thing that just like eats something and needs to keep eating this thing and does this thing. Like there's no like malicious intent in it even. It's this thing that is like this force that when you put your face on the internet, that image is going to be separated to you for some extent. Just because it's separated doesn't mean it's like evil or malicious
It's
necessarily.
it both
But
like it
it's the conflict between the image and the person who is captured to create the
it
image.
doesn't recognize her, and also it seems like also the scene where she sits in the desk, and it turns out that the doppelganger exists in the same space as her. That's I think that's also a very important scene to like show that they're not even going to try to explain it. It's something whack. Uh,
It's not something that we get an explanation for in real life is the thing. We don't get like we don't under there is no like solid generally understood boundary like when an image becomes popular and starts circulating of a human being, how much that is able to be attributed to that real person. Because all of the things that make her popular and continue her career and her image are like things that are they do obviously hurt her and make her life worse, but they're things that are done explicitly for the purpose of getting more eyes on her, of making the image spread, of making the image larger of her. All of the things of breaking the boundaries that she sets, that she explicitly states are her boundaries, are things of like, oh, these are big surprising things. I'm going to tune in to look at these things. It's never like a malicious thing. It's only this thing of this identity, this image that needs to keep growing larger and larger and absorbing and eating. It's a virus.
and I think like the interactions that she has with other characters are like further support this. Like she meets up with the old asshole, and
Barnacle,
yeah, and
Bobby,
he's sweet
Barnacle.
and is gonna do nice things for her. But he turns on her when he sees that the doppelganger Lola has started streaming. So, and this is the moment where he finds out that she's not that, and it's when someone finds out that you're different from the image that you project online, and
Yeah,
he
yeah, fuck.
monstrously lashes out.
The catalyst for that really is like he finds out that there is a separation between the image and the actual person, isn't it?
Yes.
Fuck. That's fucking great.
Uh,
Oh my god.
and then with the whole thing with Tinkerboy is finding out that this guy who's like almost her collaborator in a sense, finding out that he prefers the image version of her and is trying to get closer to that.
And is conscious of that and is sad about that. He's like very upset about that,
Yes.
it seems.
Uh
Tinker has like a lot of like empathetic moments, but also still without making him really like sympathetic. It's just kind of like
yeah.
how it be.
He's a sympathetic simp.
Uh, fuck.
And
Yeah.
this is why
Yeah.
the ending isn't just her getting back on her bullshit. She's getting back on her bullshit with a new identity so she can express something that has a healthy distance from her real self. Um, and this is why the ending is ultimately optimistic for her.
It's a cowboy movie. It's about wrangling shit. It's about trying to wrangle the fucking image once you lose control of it.
I also love the music. Fucking spooky Y2K ass bloopy blurps.
Never really comes to the forefront, but it really does set the scenes for like, especially the scenes in like the 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 e-girl like friend house where they go and do cool streams together.
Stranger Things, but if it was 2002 instead of
Gotcha.
the 80s.
I have not watched Stranger Things.
Me neither. My connection to Stranger Things is that every musician who has ever used synths will eventually be compared to the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Mm,
Do you remember my album Nostalgia?
yeah,
I got someone saying that has Stranger Things vibes.
it's not 80s
It's
though.
not.
It's not 80s at all.
It's because the opening has a seventh chord arpeggiating, I think.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then, I guess.
Kinda.
Chords are kind of like Stranger Things. I watched an episode of The Simpsons with my parents where Marge was like the creepy plant guy from Stranger Things. That was kind of cool. You remember The Simpsons?
I never watched The Simpsons.
The fucking sequence between her going to the e-girl group filming house and waking up with the thing. That was her breaking like more probably like a less stated boundary, but it's simultaneously like going beyond her limits for the creation of this piece of art.
As a reaction for someone else doing petty competitive bullshit against
Yeah,
her.
yeah, if I
Uh,
just fucking shred my pussy in half, I'll probably be able to get my points up again. So partially out of spite, but partially because she did get a lot of attention. This is a new format. Very telling that it's a separate space and that she has a lot of suspicion about initially about it being like a separate space from where she normally films, and that someone might have stolen her password or some shit like that, even though it doesn't really make sense because it is this thing that's very separate from a lot of her other content. That's the catalyst point where the image separates itself from the person in a way that's kind of irreparable.
Another thing I noticed on second viewing is that Tinkerboy and her, they talk about a bubble bath. And then the first thing that her doppelganger is doing is playing in a kiddie pool with bubbles. This is one of my favorite movies. It's like
good.
it's
I'm
like
happy you like
top
it.
20. Uh, I guess that also makes it my favorite horror movie. Uh,
Is Cache a horror movie?
no, Cache is an everything movie. Cache is just
Hmm.
the world.
Cache looks more like a horror movie than Cam does. Cam is mostly just bylighting, but I get what you mean.
Cache is a um, political drama. I think if I had to describe it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Cam is kind of like funny games.
I like to be watched.
I like. Fuck you. I think I'm starting to be very excited by the Blumhouse model. I think that the Blumhouse model is a net good for the world. it's a very, very low risk, high reward situation. Because if there's a bad horror movie, there are like thousands of bad, mediocre horror movies. And if Blumhouse gives like $300,000 to someone to make one of those, like that transfer of money isn't really something that is wasted because they're a corporation that's just kind of like they need to pump these things out, or like somebody will get beheaded or whatever. They need to do these big transfers of money.
Mediocre art ultimately has no ill effect on society, but good art has a good effect, has a benefit.
Usually the horror movies that are detestable and just bad and trash and I want to throw them away completely are like movies that are like really, really high budget, and these movies that are like these big dick fucking auteur pieces of shit.
Big dick auteur shit.
Big dick auteur shit. Like, I kind of love mediocre art in a sense. A lot of the time, mediocre art is the art where you're able to, like, communicate with the artists that are producing it, like, more so than anything else. That is the easiest way to see and connect completely with an artist's vision and be able to have a dialogue with them, is with incredibly mediocre pieces of art. And I think that's why people like talking about mediocre pieces of art. It's either you get a really mediocre piece of art from the Blumhouse model of giving random film students $300,000, or you get movies that are really, really cool and fun, like Cam. And Get Out was also Blumhouse,
yes, it was. I think. And Get Out, for a while, has just been the thing that people point to, where it's like, oh, Blumhouse does a good thing every now and then. But I like Cam as an example because it also looks like a Blumhouse horror film.
Yes.
And that's why, like, I described it on Letterboxd as being, like, it's the platonic ideal of that genre. It would be a teen horror movie if it wasn't so horny. Imagine if Cam was about, like, a Let's Player.
God. I said in my Letterboxd review that it's a documentary about Germa. This is how Germa lives. He lives like this every day of his fucking life. No, chat. No way. No way I'm gonna do that, chat. No way I'm gonna shoot myself with this gun, chat.
I would do a Blumhouse marathon with you, probably.
I'd be okay to do... I don't like gore. I'd have to skip some of them.
I want to see the one where they turn into Aphex Twin.
Which one is that?
Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare? Is that what happens in that movie?
They do an Aphex Twin face before they die or something. I forget. I mean, they don't do the Windowlicker thing as in their faces literally become the face of Richard D. James, but they do the face.
Damn, that shit sounds stupid. There's a guy named Nolan Gerard Funk in this movie. I'd be very willing to watch, like, T-rated, bad, mediocre Blumhouse films to see if I could, like any of them. They produced Whiplash?
The fuck? Okay, never mind. I don't like Blumhouse anymore.
Boatknife is an anti-Whiplash podcast.
I fucking hate Whiplash.
If you like Whiplash, fuck you. Unsubscribe. Fuck you.
My immediate reaction to Whiplash, I had a gut reaction because Fletcher got his way in the end and I didn't like it. But a lot of people told me, oh, actually the ending is supposed to be really sad because now Andrew has again been ensnared by his abuser and he's gonna... But the film thinks it's sad, but also that Fletcher is ultimately right. That's the thing. Like, the film ultimately agrees that Fletcher is good at creating prodigies, which, like, fuck no. He's not. If the twist was just that he's a shit teacher and Andrew's fucking pathologies led him to becoming his victim, then that would be fine. But it seems to have this weird idea that that's just what being a talented musician is. It's pushing yourself and being miserable, and that ultimately, like, it's a sliding scale between, like, we're nice to students, but we only get Starbucks jazz, and
I do like it as that kind of exercise of, like, being introduced to this thing, and not really being given any pieces of information that would make you side with it more, but still slowly over time beginning to associate and align yourself with Fletcher, the bald man.
It is very good at slowly introducing yourself into the weird, distorted world of an abuse victim. the film thinks that Fletcher is monstrous, but also that he's right.
Hmm.
Is the thing. Like, he is an abuser, but also he can make the kid play the drum. Blah 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 blah.
How so does it do that, like, specifically?
There's so many beats that are just like Andrew is in class. Andrew is like overconfident. Fletcher fucking murders him, and then he he
Kills him.
he pushes himself. There are the
Shoots him with his jazz gun.
ridiculous fucking practice scenes where he's playing so fast and it looks like he's like it in those moments it is indistinguishable from a really shitty sports movie.
Yeah, and he's like putting in like CDRs of like pictures of him as a child playing on a drum set and saying, "I'm kind of like
Look
this.
at my paradiddle."
I'm kind of doing a paradiddle right now. Kind of thinking about child me doing a paradiddle."
Pedantic musician side note, he does not play a paradiddle when he says that.
That's very rude of him. I think he should. I think he should have his career ruined. I'm glad he got hit by that car. Now I'm fine with it. Blumhouse produced the Gem and the Holograms movie. That's funny.
But then like every step, every moment of like growth that Andrew experiences as a musician is fostered directly by Fletcher, undeniably. And then we get this one like humanizing moment when Andrew sees Fletcher in the jazz cafe and he's playing like the most banal Starbucks ass like Tinker Toy jazz on the piano that you could ever imagine. Fucking 24/7 beats to chill study to ass shit. And then he's like this one moment Fletcher gets to like give a monologue where he says like this he, there's this one guy and he got a fucking cymbal thrown at his head and then he got really good. And musicians these days are so soft. And then Andrew says, but like, how do you know that you're not smashing the next Quincy Jones out of existence with your methods? And he said, you know, the next Quincy Jones wouldn't have ducked out, wouldn't have stopped persevering in spite of it.
I think that Quincy Jones should let me hurt him.
That's fucking tautologous. Like, my method creates great musicians, and you know this because only great musicians would subject themselves to my fucking abuse. But Andrew doesn't say anything, and that's just left in the air for the audience to take in, and I don't like it. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
I do feel like that happened, and I do, like, from the time I watched it was so fucking long ago that, like, depending on how that plays out, that could read either as, like, a story of abuse and, like, retribution and shit like that, or it could just be the kind of lame thing that you're saying it is. Blumhouse produced The Tooth Fairy. I'm still looking through the Wikipedia page for it. Between Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, they produced The Tooth Fairy and something called The Accidental Husband, which stars Uma Thurman, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Colin Firth.
Oh, oh, did you send it to me?
This was released in 2011.
Oh, yeah, my goodness.
It's this kind of shit. It's this kind of beat.
Nice.
Emma sets out to find Patrick and give him annulment papers to sign. Oh, this shit sounds bad.
May I introduce a new topic?
Yeah, we could do a new topic. Colin Firth, I love you.
I love you, Colin Firth.
I love you, Colin Firth.
I will forever be indebted to Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes.
Because Yorgos Lanthimos just consistently like frames Colin Firth's dad bod in the most beautiful ways.
Yorgos Lanthimos is very interested in Colin Firth's dad bod, and I am also very interested in Colin Firth's dad bod.
I am interested in Yorgos Lanthimos' interest in Colin Firth's dad bod.
Yeah, the pure cinema Yorgos gaze of fat dads and hot girls lying on beds looking sad. Just really, really good shit.
I identify a lot with Nicole Kidman in Killing of a Sacred Deer. Boatknife is an arts and culture podcast.
Boatknife is an arts and culture podcast.
I got Patrick to read Uzumaki.
Yes. Oh, shit. Okay, we can do Uzumaki then. Avery was very nice and sent me big, binded, sexy Viz Media version of Uzumaki that has all the shits and extras in it, so I can read it in my house.
I got him to a physical version because you gotta turn the pages.
Yeah.
Is very very
I
important.
do have to touch the page and make the scary snail come out. I just flipped past a page of the snail and I got upset. Uzumaki is like a long form horror manga created by Junji Ito. It's like a horror manga about like spirals and a town that sucks ass and is cringe and people get hurt in. Uzumaki is the exact opposite of Cam in the sense that all of the things that are upsetting about it and are like really egregiously scary about it are the things that are just like you look at and say, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that it kind of almost fakes you out a bit into thinking that it's, in air quotes, smarter.
Mhm.
Like it begins
Yeah.
with this like the first chapter is this very candid portrayal of like a broken family, and the father has become addicted to spirals, and like the spirals could be a stand-in for like alcohol or whatever. And it's all very
I'm a sad artist and my dad died of alcohol,
yeah, it's very much like that.
It feels like that.
It feels like it feels like a slow burn family drama, but then he fucking sticks his tongue out and it's a spiral. Like
it's the exact fucking opposite. There's this inverted sense at the beginning of like, oh, I really feel like I'm connecting with Junji Ito. This is this very personal story. And then it becomes a story about a town that sucks. You could draw shit between the first few things that happen. You could tie them all into themes of like legacy and like bodily decay and shit like that. But by the time you get to the guy whose thing is just like he likes to jump out at people, and he gets and he scares people a lot, so then the town makes him jump out at people a lot and turn into a spiral man and hurt people so much because he liked to jump out at people. You're just kind of like, okay, it's feels completely resistant to interpretation in a way that's very fun.
It's resistant. It's resistant, and it feels very intentional in that.
Yes.
Like even as the dad sticks his tongue out and it's a spiral, and then he turns into a spiral, and you jump scare yourself by turning the page. It could still be like a very surreal metaphorical thing.
Yeah.
But then 2 pages later, it's like, oh, the smoke is also a spiral, and everyone's like looking at it.
At that point, you're starting to get nervous.
Literal.
You're like, oh, okay, maybe that's a metaphor for like how that impacts the town. And then it just gets more incomprehensible as it goes on. I do this isn't the first thing I've read from Junji Ito.
You've binged a lot of like the short stories.
The short stories, and a lot of what I liked about the short stories is like what Junji Ito wants to happen is to like think of a thing that would suck to happen and then draw it. And it doesn't feel like he's antagonizing you for wanting to like work with these short stories and have these concepts and like have fun with them and play with like the metaphors that come from them. But there's also simultaneously the sense of like, if all of my dreams started to last like 1,000 years or whatever, yeah, I'd hate that. Like, what do you get out of that one? You don't get anything out of that one. It's just like, yeah, that'd suck.
My favorite one, in terms of this, like, weird kind of cruel dumbness, is, like, is the hanging balloons.
Yeah!
Like, because it spends so long as a very chilling, slow burn, like, ghost story where like a celebrity commits suicide, and then suddenly there's like copy suicides everywhere, and it's the ghost like looms over as a gigantic like head, like watching over everyone, and it's like and then fucking balloon heads with nooses attached to them just swarm over everywhere and start killing people.
It's so
and
funny.
It's fucking sucks.
It's funny and it sucks, and it's the most upsetting thing I've ever seen.
It left me feeling so fucking empty at the end. Like, I wanted to fucking cry.
When you reciting shit you like reciting the plot like that makes me realize how mean it is to like having the person who kills herself at the beginning to initiate the plot be a pop star, and having the balloons be these giant balloon heads, which obviously gestures towards like self-image and like there's like similar stuff that Cam was working with, the kind of self-image stuff, the image losing control of the body, and then just completely fucking discarding that as by the end of the story. It's just like, yeah, Japan's completely quarantined because it's buried under a lot of balloon
Imagine
heads.
like if at the end of Cam a meteor hit the earth and killed everyone.
Yeah,
That's what it's
and
like.
it was shaped like her head.
Yes, exactly.
And she said, "Oh fuck!"
The fireman came to my house.
Yeah, the fireman came to my house, but then he got sucked up by a balloon, and I looked outside, and it was my dad.
But yeah, Uzumaki just does that constantly. It does that both in each chapter and over the course of its runtime. It's not a movie. It's
fine.
Because like it also kind of loses the serial feel slowly as it goes on. Like,
yeah, that's the second jump scare. It sets itself up as this thing where the girl is not really absorbing anything between any of these passages, and this is just kind of things that are all connected to spirals, and she's the through line with it. But then it starts to take on a narrative, and she starts to like understand consequences for the things that are happening, and she's like,
yeah, it feels like everyone, like in the first 2 volumes even, people are reacting to everything in a very unnatural, uncanny, like understated way, and it's like that's the horror of it, that it's all like this background noise of horrible things happening, and then suddenly it gets realistic, and suddenly like the consequences of death seem to hit everyone.
now I'm supposed to like feel human empathy and shit, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I can't do that right now, Junji.
It's interesting because the first 2 volumes were so quiet, and I mean by comparison, and like, but they were also kind of distancing. But then he yanks you and brings you into the world. A lot of people say that volume 2 is like not as good as the other two, and I disagree vehemently. I think it's essential. It's the transition point. It's like volume 1 is all serialized. Volume 3 is not serialized at all. Volume 2 is kind of halfway, where it has more connective tissue between the different scary things that happen, and also every chapter is about something being wrecked and become like a landmark, like the hospital or the lighthouse.
It's all contained into these very like designated points or people. When that's done, it's like, okay, well, I guess we can't go to the hospital anymore. There's never a sense that there's always a sense that like there's a part of the town that is not fucked at some point throughout most of it.
And then the hurricane comes. Then the hurricane comes.
You'd said when I started reading Uzumaki that because of this principle, there would be one thing that was like the most upsetting to me, and that it was different for everybody. What did you say yours was?
I said like everyone has one chapter that they get just fucking murdered by. Yeah. The first 2 chapters definitely, both in contrast to each other. The first chapter slaps you in the face with its like supernatural, surreal elements, with a full-page spread of this man contorted into a spiral shape.
Yeah.
And then the second chapter does the opposite. Like it's a story about this mother, and she's being haunted by the ghost of her husband, and it's very spooky and Halloweeny. And then it just ends with a very small panel that's just her off screen cutting her cochlea out.
Yeah. Which would have, like, in chapter 1, that would have been a full page spread.
So the first chapter slaps you in the face with big, loud, surreal body horror, and then the second one slaps you in the other direction, back to grounded, unspoken horror.
There's the one point where you think it's going to be like you're getting into the rhythm of like, oh, I turned the page, and then there's a scary thing, and it sucks that I turned the page. But then you get to the one that's like the full page spread of it's just all the mushrooms growing up around the hospital bed, And there's not even anything, like, discernibly scary about, like, the image itself outside of the context of it. And all of the shit that's, like, really upsetting comes in the panels and the page following it after the hospital. It's something where it's, like, it feels like it's drifting further away.
But anyways, the thing that fucked me up the most was everything to do with the snails.
Yeah, I was going to say also the snails suck. And I hate thinking about the snails.
I hate it.
Fucking the worst. That is the worst illustration I've ever seen. The one where they crack it open for the first time. That shit sucks. Yeah. Hate that.
The guy fucking going to town on the snail and like crawling into it.
And you think it's like he's getting sucked into the spiral, but no, he's just eating it really well. And he comes back and he's like, I want more.
And he got fucking all twisted up in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, just. I was also, like, really fucking chilled by, like, seeing where the teacher just fucking smashes the eggs. It hurt.
Yeah. It sucks. I hate when Junji does food. I think my thing with Junji is whenever he does, like, food made out of people and shit. Have you read the one where it's, like, the ice cream truck that turns kids into ice cream?
I have not.
Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna link you that after we're done recording. That one is like the only other thing I can think of that is almost as bad as the snails that I've seen from him. Like, that's the thing that I've seen from him that is as upsetting as the snails. I'm gonna send you... Hey, actually... Hey, bestie, I'm gonna send you really upsetting shit. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it.
Okay, this is a bit of a candid moment. My first exposure to Uzumaki was my fucking older brother showing me the snail chapter when I was like 12.
Fuck him.
And then like not letting me read any more of it because I was too young. So
that's so mean.
I lived for a while being like completely like both traumatized and morbidly like curious to read the rest of it. It was a weird way to consume this art.
I thought that Breaking Bad was going to be a lot scarier than it was. Because my first exposure to it was like a Watch Mojo top 10 video of like top 10 most fucked up Breaking Bad moments. So I thought it was just a show about dudes getting hurt. But it was mostly just a show about dudes getting sad, which I also like.
Dudes getting sad.
But I thought it was going to be a lot more abrasive than it was. That also did spoil most major plot points in Breaking Bad for me, which was a good thing for child me to do to me.
Okay, I also have a weird Watch Mojo moment. I saw their list of like best long takes in cinema when I was very young, and the
that makes so much fucking sense.
and the hallway fight from Oldboy was on it, and I was so I fell in love with how it looked, and I immediately watched Oldboy, and I could understand none of it because it's so fast paced, and I was 13 and autistic.
Yeah.
So all I knew about it was the twist.
Hot take. The hallway scene from Oldboy, pretty good scene.
It's so good.
Pretty good.
Unironically,
really fucking good. Oldboy is really good.
It's a great movie. It's so good.
I'm gonna make you watch more shit from that guy actually at some point.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything else.
God, you'd fucking love Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. That has like that has a lot of fun play with on-screen violence, like Oldboy has. Yeah, I'm gonna make you watch that at some point. Here, we're counting down the top 10 scariest shit that could happen in your fucking cringe town. I wanted to mention this before we wrapped up.
Uzumaki is a story about the top 10 scariest shit that could happen in your cringe town.
Here are the top 10 scariest things that could happen in your life. Number 10.
And number 1 is just the entirety of Volume 3.
Junji Ito has the best artistic process of any living artist. It's just like
I love him so much
because it's just like thinking about something and then making it. It's pretty much what you're supposed to do for a lot of art is just like having a vision and then doing the thing. And it's a very pure form of that. There are chapters that are just silly and goofy, like the one the one I'm looking at now is the one where the woman is just like running around in a circle, and the scary thing is that people are running in circles, which is fucking hilarious, which is really funny. and it like gets bad after a while. Obviously, oh yeah, this is the Lighthouse chapter too.
The Lighthouse chapter is so good.
That one's fucking great. That one is that's one of the first tastes of like forming a long form narrative, like because the brother is like very tangibly changed by that.
That's the one chapter I'm not certain if that could truly be adapted to any other medium besides comics. You gotta like she says, I don't know how much time passed while I was going up the stairs, and you need to also not know.
Mm-hmm.
Like have no sense of time because it's pictures.
I feel like they'd have to do like, for those who do not know, there's going to be an anime adaptation of Uzumaki that doesn't look like ass, and Colin Stetson is doing the soundtrack.
You know what, the teaser trailer for that miniseries was tailor-made to get me specifically on board for this.
Yeah.
Like,
every other adaptation of Junji's stuff has mostly looked like ass. Will it look like ass? And then she turns her head, and it's like, yeah!
She turns her head. And also music by Colin Stetson.
Yeah.
Also...
Avery Bait.
Yes. I wish for Colin Stetson to score my nightmares.
That's something that is kind of goofy that I like, the thing of, like, he does the circular breathing, so he has to do the soundtrack of Uzumaki. It's like, it's cute. It's like a cute thing. It makes sense. And it sounds fucking good, is the big thing. It's cute and also good. Was that creative choice a cute win or fail? I feel like what they're going to have to do for the Lighthouse sequence is, like, I feel like they might just have to do a hard cut or like a really disorienting montage or something like that.
I would not begrudge them if they skipped it.
Yeah.
Because I think Junji Ito said that he read the screenplay and it was like structurally completely different to what he had.
So it might be more narrative the whole time then.
So that also more so got me on board because the Junji Ito collection, it was too faithful. It just kind of boringly copied panels and made them look like ass.
Yeah, there's not really enough content in most like Junji Ito chapters or short stories to stretch out even into like 11 minutes or 22 minutes. It's something where it's like having that be set in a really specific time frame is going to be antithetical to it. So what I'm guessing that's going to happen with Uzumaki is like this little scary shit is going to be incorporated into like a broader narrative more so. And there's going to be multiple things per episode that can have like fluxing amounts of time as is necessary for each of the things.
I have a very selfish wish for the first 2 chapters to be adapted verbatim, and then whatever else they can just fuck it up.
I feel like that's kind of what you have to do with it, right? Fuck it up.
Because
fuck
I think there's never been an opening moment of a story has never been as difficult as that for Uzumaki, and it just does it. They just get it. They get the tone.
Everything is set. Everything is set in motion by those first chapters. Like everything down to like the arc that it's going to take, to the art style, to the way that it's going to like fluctuate between art styles. Because there is this really specific way that he draws not fucked up people. There is like a very specific eye that he draws when people aren't zooted. The way he draws women especially is something that's very particular. Like there's one particular kind of Junji Ito woman. And it's like each of them has these very specific eyes. And then setting that up and establishing that very clearly for 2 chapters so that for the rest of it, whenever those get fucked up, whenever you see the eyes getting fucked up a little bit, you're like, oh, that's bad. Yeah, you're very easily able to tell, like, oh, this is a fucked up cursed person now. This person got cursed super hard because their eyes are fucked up. Yeah, thank you for buying this binding for me also. This is like a very nice gift that I hope to return. Well, no, I did return it. I sent you Doggy.
Yeah.
I did.
Patrick really wants me to read Beastars. Eventually, I'm going to make a video about why Beastars is not a piece of furry media.
And then you'll make a separate video after that when you read further along about why Beastars is stupid and I hate it. Beastars is very fun to read and it's a great universe. But there is a point where it just kind of fucks itself. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. You'll see. It's fun.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun because it has like a very clear, definite point between like this is good and this is bad. Like everyone generally agrees on like it has like a post SpongeBob movie moment, if that makes sense.
Have you seen Death Note?
I have not seen Death Note. I know you have a lot of feelings
Okay.
about Death Note.
I have a lot of feelings about Death Note. I like it. It got shit way earlier than people say it does. Uh, the Netflix movie is better. That's my
I
take.
remember you putting that out there, and people were already mad at you about it. So you can, yeah. Beastars is good for a long time. You get a lot of good Beastars.
All right.
Beastar, the funny dog.
You wanna wrap
Yeah,
up?
we can wrap up. Uzumaki
All right.
is interesting because it is a floating signifier, because it is something that you can't really attribute anything. It's something that plays with the notion of you trying to interpret it in a way that's a lot of fun. It has a lot of active disdain for its audience in a way that's very fun. To me, I like this stuff.
As all great art does.
Boatknife is an arts and culture podcast.
Boatknife is an arts and culture podcast hosted by me, Avery, and my best friend Patrick. I hope you'll stick around and hear our bullshit.
How long have we been recording? An hour and a half? Yeah, that could be like an hour-long thing. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I want to check...
Please leave the Whiplash tangent in.
Oh yeah, the whole Whiplash tangent is staying in. Blumhouse produced the fucking shitty Martyrs remake.